Welcome to Grow Your Accounting Firm Your Way with myself, Heather Townsend. I've been helping accountants for over 20 years. I know what you're thinking. I did start as a toddler doing it, but I've been helping accounting professionals of all flavors grow their firms for the last 20 years. And in this session, I'm going to take you through some key stories and some key experiences that I've done helping people grow my firm. And yes, I need to tell you that I wrote the book, The Accountants Millionaires Club, the Financial Times Guide to Business Networking, The Go-To Expert, and a few others. But also, I'm the founder of the Accountants Growth Club. Right, let's get started with that first story. And they said, we want the big top end clients. You know, those clients with the biggest businesses who can really benefit from our help. And I'm often skeptical when I hear that. And I said, do you really? Because what you've just said to me is that you want a business which runs itself without you both being intimately involved in the day to day running of itself. So I challenged them. I said, is your business set up for the big clients? No. I then said, do you actually have the cash flow to afford that big hitter that's going to take over from you, to release you so that you can do this complex work in your firm? Not right now, they said. Funny that. I then said, look, I know this is your plan and we've got to get there and it's a step by step. I said, but if you start along this track to win those big clients, will this help you get to your ideal goal? And they said, not right now. And then, me being the cruel person I am, I said, is wanting these bigger clients an ego driven decision? And I could see them squirming and they said, possibly. And here's the thing, as you sit here, you'll realize that everyone has an agenda for you. That's family, husbands, wives, partners, suppliers. In fact, even the industry. How many times have you heard compliance is dead? You need to be an advisory. You need the bigger clients. You know what? I've worked with thousands of accountants over the years, and I've seen successful practices working with big clients, but even more successful practices working with tiny clients. The size of clients doesn't dictate your success, but you need to know, what do you stand for? What is driving you to grow your firm? And are you working towards that? So, what do I mean by what do you stand for? Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I rather stupidly, 18 months ago, became a local politician here in the UK. And yes, I know you're thinking why, and I'm still thinking why? Why was I so stupid? And somebody asked me, what do you stand for? you know, I needed to put it on an election leaflet to get voted in. What do you stand for? Why have I put myself through all that pain to be a local councillor? I'm telling you now, if you've got any clients, you realise that you can't do the right thing. It's the same with residents as a councillor. You can't do the right thing. So why did I stand? And it all came back to one thing, and it was a field. I know that's weird. It's a field, but it was a field that was under threat of having houses built on it. And I cared passionately about it. And I knew as an ordinary citizen, I couldn't influence the future of that field, but I could as a councillor. And it's about leaving that legacy. It's about really helping my residents that drive me. And this is the same for your firm. You've got to strip away those ego-driven decisions of I want to be the best at, or I want those big end clients like my client. What is it that you stand for? What prompted you to start your practice? This is about your why, your purpose, why you do what you do. Now, until you've nailed this, until you've actually kind of gone, this is what I stand for, and this is how my business is going to help me get there, you cannot move sustainably. And that's a key word, underline that sustainably forward to grow your firm. Until you're working on purpose, making sure you know what you stand for, the growth of your practice is always going to be 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. Now, as I go through this session, I'm going to tell you about the Grow Your Firm program. And very much so, this whole webinar is about really giving you a taste of what's coming. And this is a 4 series over a period of time. And I'm going to be supporting you on that program. But this is why that first part of the program, which is called Attract the Type of Clients You Want, looks at literally the type of clients you want, the ones that are aligned to what you stand for. And in the Grow Your Firm program, you're going to be taken through a step-by-step process to decide on who you really want to win, how you can attract them to you, but how those align with what you stand for. Why are you doing this? What prompted you to join this webinar? So let me tell you about Paul. He just lost his house, his whole business, and his client base. But thankfully, his family stuck by him. Now, he was struggling to get his practice in US dollars over 400,000. So he took the decision to merge his practice with another local practice. Now, you can guess what happened next. It was the most acrimonious exit. He was left with nothing. I mean, nothing. And he had to start his practice from the bottom up. And he started again, fresh sheet of paper. But once again, he started butting up against that plateau, that $400,000. So he came to talk to me and said, how do I get through this ceiling? How do I move this forward? And I looked at him and I said, look, you need to free up time to work on the business. You need to build a strong team beneath you. And it was only when he did that that his firm's growth started to flow. Now, 6 years later, he's now over $1.2 million in turnover. But what Paul had to learn, he had to learn to change his role and mindset. And he needed to build a firm foundation to scale from, rather than doing what he loved, which was winning new business. He could no longer be focused only on winning and servicing new business, even though this was what he's brilliant at, what he loved at. He realized he was now responsible for the whole business. And that's a key point I make. If you want to grow your firm, as your firm changes in size, so does your role. But he also realized that nobody was going to come and save him. Watching this webinar is one thing. Hearing these stories is another thing. Taking action is when the magic really happens. Nobody's going to come and save you. Watching, waiting, hoping, wanting. Nobody's going to choose you. You've got to do this. Now, when Paul realized that he had to do this, that nobody was going to save him, he realized he was responsible for the whole firm. So he started looking at those key processes. He started looking at, how am I going to create the lead? How am I going to convert that into new business? By the way, creating the lead, we do that in the first webinar of Grow Your Firm, how to attract the clients you want. Converting it, we do that in the second webinar. How do you actually land the clients you want? Then you've got to work out, how am I going to deliver this? How am I going to build a team that can deliver this? And then how do I get paid for it? And then how do I actually then go from that and expand it? And expanding it is the third part of the process. And then we're going to look in the Grow Your Firm at how that more holistic, how do you take ownership of the whole of your practice so it becomes scalable? But he realized that as his business grew, his priorities changed. And when you get from naught to about 75,000 in US dollars, it is all about winning work and servicing that work. And that's why in the Grow Your Firm program, across the first 3 sessions, we're looking at attracting the right clients you want, landing the clients you want, and expanding your clients you want. So the next stage is how you go from 75K of dollars into 300K. And actually, it's all about going from you to a team? Who does what? How do you get people talking to you? How do you get people talking to themselves and not everything going through you? And then when you want to go from 300K to 650K, it's all about getting the business to run without. You've got to release yourself. And the important thing here is if you fail to recognize that your role and responsibilities have changed as your firm grows, you're never going to get that firm out of being, as Paul had, that stubborn, cranky teenager that only brings your grief. Paul only went from 300K right up to $1.2 million by recognizing that he was responsible for the whole of his firm. And in the last part of the Grow Your Firm program, we're going to look at how to scale your practice so it becomes bigger than you. And this is the key point I want to make, that these are all your responsibility. You've got to create the lead. We're going to go into detail in that first session of Grow Your Firm, how to attract the right clients. The second session is about converting it, how to land the right clients. The third session is all about how do you cultivate it to get the right clients grown and attract more of those. And then the final session is we're going to look at how do you create the time, the resilience, the growth plan to really get your firm so it's scalable and push through the hard parts. Now let's go to another story. John had a problem. And by the way, all of these stories are absolutely true. I may have changed the name to protect the innocent. They were spending over $1,500 US dollars a month on marketing. But they thought they were seeing zero return. And I mean, absolutely zero return. And worse still, they got the age of their practice, so they were losing clients, retiring or selling up. And they could see their business doing this. Scary. And they said, Heather, you're helping us with this. Why is it going wrong? So I said, look, how many leads and inquiries are you getting? And they said, well, none. I said, well, you do a report, don't you? And they got their report up and they said, oh, we've had 30 inquiries over the last 2 months. They had a really healthy pipeline of new business. I said, what happened to them? And he goes, we've been too busy to follow them up. And by the way, you often think, oh, I'm never going to be too busy to follow them up. But you get to that point where you've got a number of clients and they want you. And this stuff just happens. John had got too busy to follow up the leads. So they were losing huge amounts of business. So what did we do? We tweaked the workflows so that John's personal assistant got involved. She made sure that he had the time and the accountability in his diary to follow up the leads. And she changed John's default diary, his working week, so that his intentions with new business matched his attention. And you know what? What are their current results now? Well, now they're winning over 1,500 a monthly recurring dollars each month. They're winning many, many more in ad hoc work. But here's the thing. Stuff breaks in small businesses. Always does, particularly when it's growing. This could be team members not following the process, systems no longer fit for purpose. Or maybe you've never sat down and put together the best practice process. Maybe you've not even had the time to recognize there was a problem, just like John. He thought he had a problem with his marketing. No, he had a problem with his sales. But at least in this example, John was tracking his new inquiries. Imagine if he hadn't. What would have happened if I asked this question? He would have blamed marketing when it was a sales problem. And that's often why our businesses get stuck at that teenager stage. We're so busy that we don't have the data or the time to look at the data. We're not tracking these things. And then when we realize there's a problem, and that's if we do, we have to guess at how to fix it. And we don't always get it right when we guess. And sales can often be a problem within accounting firms. We think it's a dark art. What's that magic question that's going to close the client? Plot twist, there is no magic question. And that's why in the second part of Grow Your Firm, Land the Clients You Want, that's that program that comes on after this that I'd love you to join me on. We're going to be looking at how to put together your sales process, but so that the right people get progressed, so that you have that level of accountability that John got with his PA. But also, how do you run those sales meetings? I'm going to even share my best practice scripts with you for qualifying leads, new business leads. You're never going to think, I don't know how to be this salesperson ever again. By the way, anyone can be a great salesperson. You've just got to have the confidence and be curious and listen. I've got the scripts which will give you the right questions to ask. You've just got to join the Grow Your Firm program. So, what comes next? Well, let me talk to you about Helen. She ran an outsourced finance department. So she did the bookkeeping, the payroll, the sales tax returns. But her expertise was with helping clients that needed to monitor their cash flow carefully. They were typically rapidly growing businesses or businesses that had a tricky cash flow, such as project led businesses, such as marketing agencies. And she wanted to win work. So somebody said to her, go out networking, find your tribe. You've heard that before, haven't you? You've got to get yourself out there. So she found a really supportive group of early stage businesses, just like herself. But just like herself, they were one-person businesses. They were not her target clients. But Helen was a lovely person. They liked her. She liked them. They said, Helen, will you be my accountant? And Helen didn't think she could say no because she needed every lead. So she started building a client list with the wrong type of clients. The ones that only needed that minimal help with the compliance stuff. They didn't want their cash flow monitoring. They didn't want Helen doing payments or bookkeeping. And then because Helen wanted to give them great service, they started recommending their friends to her. So Helen got even more leads to these one-person businesses. She was getting further and further away from what she stood for why she set up in business. And here's the problem. What we consume and who we hang around with is what we become. It's only when Helen set out her stall of who she really wanted as a client and then focused her marketing on the right people did she start winning the right type of clients. But most importantly, she changed who she spent time with. She spent time with accounting firm owners who were all trying to win the bigger type of clients. She learned from them. But she also got the targeted advice when she needed it. Even better, those firms were really clear about who they wanted, and they would give her work and said, this is one for you, Helen. Just as she was giving them work, saying, I don't want to do construction businesses. This is one for you. Now, whilst that original network of those tiny early stage businesses were lovely, it was like the blind leading the blind. They were too early in their journey to give the right advice about what to do. Funnily enough, 6 months after changing who she spent time with, she was winning that one client a month, but that one client was worth over $750 a month. It was exactly the right type of client she wanted. And that's why the Grow Your Firm program will be right for you. You'll get that supportive community of like-minded accounting professionals. You're going to be tapping into my expertise to guide you through the right steps to grow your firm your way. Let's go to the next story. Imagine you look at the work on your desk and you suddenly realize you've got 9 months work to do in 4 months. And even worse, that work had non-negotiable deadlines. Stuff had to be filed on time. It had to get done. Anybody thinking, no? And this is exactly what happened to Michael. He and his team would regularly win 20 new clients a month. This is a firm that had been growing by 50% year on year. And I said, Michael, You need a plan. He said, Heather, I have a plan. I said, where is it? He said, it's up here. It's in my head. Everything's going to be fine. It's under control. It's up here. It'll be fine. But then we got to August. And because that plan hadn't been out there, he realized they'd not been factoring into that plan the work they were winning, those 20 plus new clients. And all of that work they were winning meant, whoa, that's got to be done within 4 months. And that's 9 months amount of work. That meant they needed three, four more people like yesterday if they were going to meet their deadlines. And yeah, they took on some temporary staff. They found people. They managed to recruit in time. It was a key lesson here for Michael. And never again did he let the plans get out of control. And you know what? It was a classic example of a business behaving like a teenager. And it's often why our business does, because we don't have the plans. We are too often at the coalface delivering the work. We just get focused on what do we need to do today? What do we maybe need to do next week? What we maybe need to do next month? But we're not looking ahead long enough. We can't see the bigger picture because we don't have that long-term plan. We're just seeing what needs to happen now. Whereas we need to be looking ahead. When do we need to recruit? When maybe do we need new offices? When do we need to change stuff? We need to be knowing what we need to do now to impact the medium and the long term. Often I see it time after time. We fail to take action when it's needed, such as a team member disengaging, hiring too late, maybe a piece of software no longer fit for purpose. And then when we have to change it, we don't have time. Maybe we see, a massive increase in client numbers or a massive decrease, and we're not looking at it. We're not taking the actions. We've got to look ahead. And this is the plans that you actually need. You need that growth plan, which looks at the next 0 to 3 years. And it has a 90-day action plan, which is really focused on the one big focus. What is the really one big focus for the next 90 days? If you focus on that, everything will move forward. Having a one big focus stops being overwhelmed. And in the Grow Your Firm program, in the last session, I'm going to get you to create your plans and your one big focus and have the time to monitor them and take corrective action. In the Grow Your Firm program, you're going to be prompted to create your plans, but also have the time to monitor them and take corrective action. You're going to have your one big focus. You're going to have the clarity and direction of what you need to do. But it's more than just that. You need the rolling 12-week operational plan. What needs to get out the door, by whom and by when, and having that sight over the volume of work coming in. And then you need that long-term capacity plan. How much work are you winning? When are you going to need to hire? When are you going to need to move offices? When are you going to grow out of software? And knowing those big things that you can do. Let's go and say another story. Raj bought two practices from two partners that traded together. He'd got a long-term history with them. He started working with them, left to go to a big four, came back, and he bought the firm. It was his. His firm was worth over $1.5 million. Most of us would thought, yay, we've made it. He had a problem. There was too much work to do. He had slow turnaround times, and every penny of profit he made went back into repaying the loan that he took to buy the practice. There was so much to do. But he looked at the one big focus. So the first thing he did was stabilize the team. He sacked his team of UK subcontractors. That was cheap labor that his previous owners were using, who were based in the office. He then went and offshored these with a team of people where he was charged based on the 20% of revenue he charged the client. And that went a long way of stabilizing the team, sorting out the turnaround time, but it still hadn't sorted out the profit. He was still not getting enough profit to recruit in the team he needed. So he and his number two were working long hours. He didn't see his young family. His wife was complaining. He also knew that he was sitting on a gold mine of huge amounts of tax planning work that they knew was there, if only they had the time to do it. They were literally stuck. And there was I with Raj in a room of other accountants. And it was one of, those chance remarks that people make. And they were benchmarking their prices. And here in the UK, we have to do a self-assessment personal tax return. And you know, Raj said, we haven't done a fee increase for over 20 years since my former partner started the practice. And we're doing a tax return for this amount. And literally three members went, whoo! And they were absolutely serious. And they said, can we outsource our tax return works to you? It was at that point Raj went, ooh, my prices are too low, aren't they? And this was the kick up the backside he needed, that peer support that said, yeah, they are too low. So he and I spent 9 months putting in place a large fee increase. Over 1,000 clients needed to be requoted, sent out a letter. Your fee is going up by this amount on this date. Most people's fees of his client base went up by 25 to 50%. Yeah, punchy. That added over $400,000 to his bottom line in a year. Most of you are thinking, how many clients did he leave? He lost 10% of his client base by numbers, but only 3% of his client base by value. And in all of it, there was only one client that he really regretted losing. What that did was getting his prices right, got his business model fixed. It was the last part, get the right people doing the right stuff at the right price. And actually the clients he lost were the ones that weren't paying enough, and they took up his and his team's client. So getting that business model meant that he was able to buy out the rest of his partners, and he freed up some spare cash. That meant that he had cash to afford another acquisition. And a year after the fee increase, he doubled the size of his firm. Yeah, he literally, through the fee increase and an acquisition, he doubled the size of his firm. But less than half of the growth came from that acquisition. It was getting the prices right, the organic growth with that, and then having the time to deal with it. You can take many points from this story, but the key one that I want you to take is your business model right? The prices and how you service the client base. Is it right to let your firm scale and grow? Because it's all very well if you can handle everything, but is that going to meet what you want to do with your practice? Is there going to be enough profit if you bring somebody in? Or maybe are you just stuck delivering the work just to get paid? And that's why in the last session of the Grow Your Firm program, we look at your practice to make sure it's scalable, to look at your business model so that you can be released from the day job. Let's go and have a quick look in more detail about the Grow Your Firm program. This is a great program. You're going to get loads of people all around the world that will help you. There's going to be a group, online groups, of which we're all going to be in together. I'm going to be there, happy to answer questions that you've got. I'm going to give you personalized help and guidance from me and others on the program. You're not going to be alone anymore. Now, each of the sessions on the program are 30 to 60 minutes long. You're then going to get actions, take away from that. You're going to get some of my best resources, such as the scripts I spoke about. You're going to get my client persona template. You're going to get the same growth planning process and tools that we use with members of the Accountants Growth Club. So you can easily put together your growth plan. In the first session, we're going to be talking to you about how to attract clients you want. You'll learn how to identify the right type of clients for your firm, those that are profitable, easy, and enjoyable to work with, and align with what you stand for, your long-term goals. And this isn't just going to be here's the process. It's going to be actual, physical, practical ways, tips, tactics, what other accountants just like you have done to build a more appealing brand, package up the right services, where and whom to network. You're going to leave with really clear steps. I'm going to get rid of the hype, get rid of the mystery, really clear steps of what you need to do to position your firm to attract those clients that you want. Once you know that, you're then going to start to build a pipeline. That's why session 2 is about land the clients you want. And of course, attracting is just the beginning. Now you've got to quieten that little voice of doubt. The one that says, "Ooh, who are you to look after this? Do you think you can really do that? Are you really the right accountant or bookkeeper or accounting professional with them?" I'm going to help you quieten that voice, get you confident with clients, and you're going to learn how to qualify the right clients. You're only dealing with the ones that you want that are a great fit for the firm. You're going to get rid of the people that want everything for nothing and don't want to pay for it. We'll cover how to manage your pipeline efficiently, just like John did, and build trust in new business meetings, handle objections like a pro. And by the end, you're going to have a proven process that you're going to be confident to follow. None of this black art, none of this just let me close it. Things are going to close themselves when you know what you're doing. You're going to have those loyal, high value clients. You're not going to waste energy on the people who aren't right. Now, the third session is about expanding the clients you want. Attracting the right clients, winning them is just the start. You've now got to keep them happy and grow your relationship. And that's where the magic of running an accounting firm really happens. As a coach, I've never seen a business like an accounting firm that has for clients that just stay for years and years and years that are loyal. So the real magic to growing your firm is, how do you expand the clients you've got? We're going to look at how to deliver that exceptional client service that means that you are recommended and referred by the right people. You'll learn how to do those little touch points that open up the conversations to upsell, ethically, of course, the right stuff. You'll know how to turn great clients into even better ones by offering them more of the right services and value you need. And then finally, the last session is all about, how do you go from winning work to scaling your firm? How do you actually build that sustainable, scalable, future-ready firm that works for you? And in this session, I'm going to be talking about the plans that you need to do, the growth strategies you need to do. You'll discover the 4 essential ingredients for scaling your practice: cash flow, your time, capacity, efficient systems, and how to balance them effectively. You'll go from mastering business development to streamlining your operations. And that last session is going to help you lay the groundwork for now and the future to have a firm that grows with confidence and ease. Now, in all of this program, you're going to get actionable insights from what other accounting firms are doing. Whew. In summary, let's look at the summary. What have we been talking about today? And I think, as you learned from Paul's story, growing your firm starts with you. Nobody's going to come and save you. Watching and waiting isn't going to happen. You've got to take action. You really have to do. And remember those that wanted the big clients. What do you stand for? And therefore, what clients do you really want? Is it the really big clients that are going to take up all of your time? Or do you want the smaller, easier to handle clients? What is it that you want? And then finally, do you have the right processes and systems to attract, land, expand, and deliver the work? Just like John, he didn't have the right processes. Marketing was working, but remember, he had a hole in his sales. So really, that is my summary for you. And finally, what is your action points? You're going to get some detail, but book onto our Grow Your Firm program. I really am looking forward to working with you. We're going to be in that online community. I'm going to be there to answer your questions, help you through all the kind of next steps and action points that you're going to get after each of the recorded sessions. I'm going to be with you, holding your hand, looking forward to getting to know you. Remember, watching and waiting doesn't work. Action is where the magic happens.